Welcome into another episode of Hawks Nest. I'm Clay Harrell, and today we have a big lineup of topics. We got our first football game confirmed on the schedule. SEMO will go to SIU for the War for the Wheel on October 23rd at 6 p.m. I'm here with Roman Holloway and Bryce Graham. And boys, we got some big news. We get our first crack at SIU again. You know, we've won the last two War for the Wheels. And I think it's pretty clear that we're going to make it three straight. Roman, your thoughts?
Oh, it's done. You might as well just put the nail in the coffin. It's done and over with. SIU, I'm sorry. You're going to get smacked. I apologize. We already lead the series. Doesn't matter. You guys are going to get crushed. And I'm excited. I'm a sophomore. I have not experienced a football game. I won't be able to experience a football game this year, but I'll get to see it on ESPN. And I'm looking forward to watching the Red Hawks dominate.
Roman, you mentioned that SEMO holds the series. They do lead it 42, 37, and 8. And to be honest, if the 37 and the SEMO's losses probably comes from most of the time when football players didn't wear helmets. Like, we know you guys won a couple years ago. But Bryce, I mean, SEMO's obviously probably going to dominate this matchup. Would you agree?
Yeah, so SEMO's the favorite in this matchup. I actually have them winning 42-7. And I don't think SIU can put up the numbers they have in the past. But this is an easy win for the SEMO.
Very generous to give them 7 points. Roman, your thoughts?
Oh, I would have to agree. You know, it might actually not be the prettiest game because it's the first game of the season for both teams. But I'm going to stick with maybe a 21-3 victory for the Red Hawks.
So you guys are both being nice to SIU. I'm going 67-0. Like, it's just going to be a disaster. We're going to see every person on the roster for SEMO is going to play. Like, they're all going to just. I mean, they're going to go off. Like, there's no other way to put it. SEMO's going to win 67-0. The saying's Hawks by 90, but it's Hawks by 67 this time, only because it's one game in the fall and they haven't played a game. Otherwise, it would be Hawks by 90. And it's going to be the first time that we've seen SEMO on the field since November when they lost in the playoffs to Illinois State. And speaking of Illinois State, their running back that graduated, James Robinson, his skill set's transitioned really well to the NFL. You saw last night, Thursday Night Football. He had 2 touchdowns. He's been a dual threat in the receiving game and the run game, so kind of interesting to see a guy like that playing at an FCS school making such a big impact on a national stage.
Definitely. Watching that game last night, I mean, he seemed like the only piece of the Jaguars offense that did anything.
Is Minshew Mania dead in Jacksonville?
That's funny. I was never sold on him anyways, but, he's young, he's developing, so we'll give him time.
So I was a big Minshew guy at first. He has a really nice stash and stuff, but he's a 6th-round pick, and I don't think he can continue to do what he's done in the past. He had a rough game yesterday, but I think he'll bounce back and he'll put up good numbers next game.
So basically, Bryce, you think that the Jags have their quarterback in Gardner Minshew?
I do.
Wow. I think they're tanking for Trevor or failing for Fields,
Yeah.
whichever, take your pick. But if you want to make another prediction, we got Sunday Night Football, Packers and Saints. Who wins and why?
All right, I'm going to look right in this camera, and I'm telling you right now, bet the house on the Green Bay Packers. They are underdogs. They're going to go to NOLA. They're going to beat the Saints down. You heard it here first. No Michael Thomas. Jair Alexander shuts down Emmanuel Sanders, and they have absolutely nobody. You heard it here first.
So I'm going to play off of that, but like the Packers don't have Devontae Adams. Are you still worried about that, or do you think that the Packers, they have Aaron Rodgers, and obviously the Saints have Drew Brees, but no Michael Thomas is a big loss for the Saints. They still have Emmanuel Sanders, but Jair Alexander has proven that he can lock down some of the better wide receivers. Who is on the Packers side offensively that's going to have to get going then if it's not Devontae Adams?
Aaron Jones, because they run the ball. When they run the ball effectively, I don't think they can be beaten.
They have 3 receivers that honestly can get over 100 yards in any game. Alan Lazard, MVS, and Devontae Adams. I think he's questionable to start this week, but we'll see start at game time if he's ready to go or not.
X factor for the Saints is going to be obviously Alvin Kamara.
Yep.
Drew Brees, you haven't seen him play that great yet, and on a big stage like Sunday Night Football.
He's been declining. It seems like he's slowly been declining this year, which, everyone says that every year, especially, with Rodgers. Like, he was declining last year. I think he's on a vengeance. I think he's mad because they took Jordan Love in the first round, so he's wanting to prove all those doubters wrong. But also, Drew Brees he's slowly been declining this year, and it's pretty noticeable to see.
I think, though, like on a stage like Sunday Night Football, you might see Brees up his level and play. I mean, you're going to need a big game out of Kamara, both in the run game and the passing game. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Do they use Latavius Murray more? I mean, maybe. But the Packers have it figured out right now with Aaron Jones. I mean, I think right now he's playing like he's one of the best running backs in football. Him and Kamara, I think, are right there at 1-2. So it's going to be a big running back matchup on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
And then Monday Night Football, like when you thought the prime time,
yes.
the Thursday night game was a little like Then you get into Monday Night Football, maybe the most anticipated game of the year, your potential AFC Championship game, the Chiefs and Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson's probably going to have a field day on the Chiefs defense, but I also think Patty Mahomes is Patty Mahomes. I think the Ravens have a much better defense, but
Yeah.
the threats that the Chiefs have outside, I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think the over-under for that game was like 52.5, and I think I'd be hammering the over if I'm going there because just the way those two offenses are run, you got Hollywood Brown on the outside for the Ravens, Mark Andrews, Mark Ingram. They got three good backs, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, and
I
Gus
think-
Edwards.
Exactly. You look at the Ravens offense, and it's up there with the Chiefs. Maybe not the threats and the speed threats outside, but they definitely have weapons.
Yeah, so Chiefs have the first-round pick, Allaire, who's really talented, coming out of LSU. So I think he'll have a big game against the Ravens, not on the running, but in the passing game.
Yeah, I think Marlon Humphreys can do a good job at keeping Tyreek Hill at bay, but I think Travis Kelce is going to feast on that defense. There's no Earl Thomas. They have Chuck Clark. He's not that good, let's be honest here. Travis Kelce is going to have a field day. I see the Chiefs actually coming out on top of that game in a high-scoring game like 55-52. Book it. I'm telling you, Chiefs are winning.
So do you guys remember the Monday Night Football game a couple years ago between the Chiefs and Rams?
Yes.
You thinking something similar to that?
Ooh, that was crazy.
That was pretty crazy. I could definitely see that as a possibility. I think it's gonna be a shootout though.
So I think you know Travis Kelce. Everybody knows how good Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. I think your X factor is going to be Demarcus Robinson. I just think that being maybe a second or third receiver, depending on if you want to put him above Sammy Watkins or not, you need a guy that's maybe not going to be keyed on as much in your meetings. Obviously, you know about him because he's in there with their weapons. But I think you could look for him to have a big games or Sammy Watkins. So I think maybe, but I do agree that you're going to see a shootout. And I'm going to go. Do you guys both think the Chiefs are going to win?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go different because I think the Ravens. I think Lamar's got a lot to prove. He's 0-2 versus Mahomes in his career, and he's like 21-1 against everyone else in the regular season. So I'm going to go Lamar gets his first win against Mahomes just because I think he's going to have better luck against that Chiefs defense.
That's a good pick. Like I said, it's going to be a shootout, but I think Tyrann Mathieu is going to slow Mark Andrews down, and you're relying on Marquise Brown, who he's a great, he's a good receiver. I wouldn't say the term great, but I don't think he's the number one guy. I just don't think that he can elevate that team into beating the Chiefs.
And that he's coming off a foot injury too. He had surgery, but you see him look pretty good in 2 weeks. I just think, I don't know, it's just going to be a game that I think we're going to look back on, and it's obviously going to have huge implications in kind of where teams are seeded going into the playoffs. And I think it's going to be something we look back on maybe in January, February is when we roll into the AFC, not February, but January, the AFC Championship game. And I think you'll have Baltimore and Kansas City right there.
Those are the two most dynamic offenses in the NFL. That's, I don't think there's any question. And, those are the two of the top three quarterbacks in the NFL. So I'm excited to watch that game, and, I have high expectations for that game.
Bryce, give me your X factor for Baltimore.
So the X factor for Baltimore is Lamar Jackson. If you don't stop him in the run, he can beat you running, he can beat you passing. The read option with Mark Ingram, it's dangerous, dude. He had the best year of his career last year, and he's just trying to put up more numbers.
Roman, X factor for Kansas City.
I'm going to say the defensive line. The whole defensive line as a whole. I think Chris Jones, they're going to try to stop that. They're going to try to stop that run. If they stop the run, it's going to be over.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of Hawks Nest. For Bryce Graham and Roman Holloway, I'm Clay Harrell. Be sure to tune in next week for episode 3 of Hawks Nest.